Shine, shine, shine your
Hello, I'm
light
Nancy Smith Maddox out of Little Rock, Arkansas, broadcasting on Shine Your Light Radio Ministry with WYTV7 in Charlotte. I'm so excited to be here today. We have a phenomenal guest that's going to talk about something that's going to interest many of us, angels. So I'm really, really excited to have him today. And in a few minutes, I'll introduce him and we'll start asking him some questions. And I think you're going to really love what he has to say and you're going to really be interested. First of all, WYTV7 is a nonprofit. We do take donations and we take seeds into our WYTV7. What we use the money for is to broadcast our shows international. We have quite a few broadcasters and we broadcast all of them internationally. But our saying is, if we reach one, then we've done our job. So a $5 seed into WYTV7 does wonders and does a lot for our advertising and what we're trying to do. But anyway, let me introduce our guest today. I'm really excited to have him. His name is Dan Starks, and he is a safety expert, and he does not want any of us to become a victim. So he has a security program that we'll talk about a little later on in the show, and he has actually he's been the top one of the top 10 recruiters for the NRA, and he also has an Emmy award that he won 11 years. So it's kind of exciting. But what we're going to talk to today is, Mr. Dan, tell us a little bit about yourself and what made you who you are.
Well, I am honored to be here. First of all, let me tell you something. I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, but I'm originally from upstate New York. So I tell all these people down here that I'm a recovering Yankee. I've always been a very avid motorcycle rider. And of course, in Rochester, New York, you were limited because you were shoveling snow half the year. I finally moved to Charlotte in 1984, and I brought my motorcycle down here. And I mean, the weather here was spectacular. Several years ago, I think it was around 2013, on New Year's Eve day, Connie, who is my lover and partner, and I went for a motorcycle ride. Just a short one. It was a 65-degree day, and my sister had called and she was complaining because she had to shovel snow to get out to her car. So that really motivated me to go for a motorcycle ride. So Connie and I got in the motorcycle. Connie got in the sidecar. We pulled out in the street. I forgot it was New Year's Eve, so the traffic was a little heavy. And we got down about 2 miles, and as we were passing a shopping mall, a truck pulled out, and the guy driving the truck was on the phone, and his bumper almost hit Connie in the head. So I swerved the motorcycle to avoid that. The car in front of me stopped. I was airborne. I went through the windshield, over the car in front of me, head first into the concrete. Now, I'm a motorcycle rider, so I was head to toe leather and, the best of everything. But it knocked the wind out of me, and I was laying there. I was startled, and I was laying there, and this kind face gentleman got down next to me, and he put his face up to my motorcycle helmet, and he said, "I want to touch your arms and your legs and your feet. Tell me if you can feel me, and then I'll know that your neck's not broken." So he went up and down both my legs and both my feet, and he said, "I think you're okay." So he reached up, unstrapped my helmet, and took my helmet off. Meanwhile, Connie was stuck in the sidecar, absolutely hysterical, trying to get out of the sidecar, trying to get her helmet off. So he said, "Let me go help the missus." So this kind gentleman got up, and I'm still laying there in shock. He got up, went back to the motorcycle, and took Connie by the hand and helped her get out of the sidecar. Then she was struggling with her helmet and everything, so he reached up, unsnapped her helmet, took it off, and handed it to her. And then he said to her, "I think he's going to be okay." Then he vanished into thin air. There was probably 30 people standing around because it was quite an accident. He didn't walk away. This man vanished into third air. I am sitting here now with goosebumps on my arm as I've told you the story. I've lived it. So to me, there was no question about it. It had to be an angel. And as I said, I grew up Catholic in Rochester, so I very strong in the faith. And I mean, it was just very disconcerting that this person appeared out of nowhere in a very kindly fashion, came to my aid, and then realizing that Connie was struggling, came to her aid. And I mean, I gave up motorcycle riding shortly after that, because for one thing, Connie would never get on a motorcycle again. She said, "I never want to see you fly through the air."
Well, that's such a fascinating, very fascinating story, and such a godly story. Number one, you could have been dead if you were flipped over. Luckily, you had a helmet on and it didn't affect your head.
Right.
And then Connie could have passed away too because of this.
I know. I mean, it was, and I understand. You know, I understand motorcycle riding is dangerous. Well, you know what? Life is dangerous, and it's the one thing that gave me a great deal of pleasure. I used to ride my motorcycle out to a small town west of Charlotte, and I had a horse out there. So I'd take the motorcycle out, and then I'd take the horse, and I'd get back on my iron horse and come home. And to me, there was nothing any more soothing like that. So
Wow.
it was just a very short outing, but I mean, it could have been utterly traumatic. I mean, I was traumatized. I broke my arm, and, you know, I was
Of course
banged
you
up.
were.
But it was the providence of God that, first of all, kept me alive, and it was the providence of God that sent me that angel. And I say this, that was definitely an angel.
Yes, absolutely. It sounds like it. Absolutely. Well, you said you had 30 people standing around witnessing it. They didn't see the angel, did they?
Yes.
They did?
Yes, because when this person vanished, I mean, it's not like he walked over and got in the car and drove away. He turned to Connie, gave her the helmet, and he pointed at me and he said, "I think he's going to be okay." And then he was gone.
Wow.
I mean,
That is such a wow.
I mean, I'm sitting here with goosebumps now telling you this story 5
Yeah,
years
me
later.
too. Can we see Miss Connie? Miss Connie, are you standing around? Stick your head over here.
Carolyn, I'm right here.
Okay, stick your head over. I want to say hi to you and let everyone see you because y'all are truly a walking miracle.
Yes,
You're in
truly.
touch with a real angel. People have a hard time comprehending that. So thank you, Miss Connie, for sticking your head in and letting us.
Oh, honey, you are so welcome. And I saw Dan lifting up. When I saw the van coming toward us, I thought he was going to wipe both of us out.
Why?
And
Wow.
we've never, ever, in all our 20 years, ever had a negative situation. And it happened in a nanosecond, and all I could see was my Dan lifting up from the seat, and then God protected my vision,
Yes.
and I didn't see anything else but this beautiful man that came to me and assured me that Dan would be all right.
And I rode for 26 years. I never had a flat tire, never ran out of gas, never, you know, dumped my bike. And it was, to me, it was probably one of the most fun things I did because I have a very high pressure job and it relieved a lot of stress.
Well,
Yes.
new helmets, and I was so struggling. It was the very first time we had worn our matching helmets going out for a nice ride. And it was next to impossible. I was so nervous. I couldn't even unsnap my helmet. And this beautiful man came up to me, and I just felt this warmth and this presence just fill me. And he helped me, and it was one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had.
Wow. Well, you know, Mr. Dan, is there a way for you to describe what the angel looked like?
Yes, he was a I would say, a middle-aged man, small in stature, you know, no really anything identifying. But I mean, he had a very kind face, and his eyes were very kind. And when he looked at me, I knew I was okay. I mean, I felt a sense of peace over me, and I had some pain in my hand, but I realized I could have been dead.
Yes.
You know, and he was so kind, and he explained to me everything he was going to do before before he touched me. He was so courteous. He said, "I want to make sure your neck isn't broken before I remove your helmet." So he literally went up and down the whole part of my body, both sides, And he said, you could feel all that. And I said, yes. He said, I don't think it's broken. So he reached under, unsnapped the helmet, lifted it off, and set it next to me. I was in awe. I couldn't believe where this person had come from. I found out afterwards that the person who caused the accident was an emergency room doctor, never came to my aid, and matter of fact said to Connie that he was glad that I couldn't get off the ground because he was afraid of what I might do to him.
Oh my goodness, wow.
I know.
And he had his little son.
And he had his son,
So,
probably 8-year-old son with him.
well, you know, this is just really such a fascinating story. And, you know, all of us in our life, we think we experienced angels around us. I'm really famous for saying there had to be an angel on my shoulder many, many times.
Yes.
But I didn't really ever see anyone or sense
Yes.
anything or anything like that. It's just something that I felt like angels were around. So
Sure.
I actually believe that with all my heart. But what did the witnesses do when the angel disappeared?
And people were speechless. Well, first of all, the fact is, and the ambulance came, and I got in the ambulance, and here it was, New Year's Eve, and I did not feel like on New Year's Eve at 4 o'clock go sitting in the emergency department, because I'd have been in there all midnight, right? So I talked to the people, and they checked me out, and they said, okay, you know, you've got a broken arm. And I said, well, I've got an orthopedic surgeon I can take care of. But I mean, I think people were speechless. First of all, to see somebody go flying through the air. I'm a big guy. I'm a really big guy. And, you know, I flew through the air like a feather.
Wow.
And then, you know, then I hit the median, and I mean, I landed like 2 sacks of potatoes.
Wow.
Back here
Yes.
I was 15 minutes later walking around.
That's
It's
amazing.
a miracle. I mean,
It really is a miracle.
and I don't know what I would have done if that person hadn't shown up. I think I was afraid to move.
Sure.
I mean, I
Well, you were
literally.
probably in shock.
Oh, there's absolutely no doubt. I mean, that's the definition of shock. I was speechless, motionless, and clueless, and thankful all at the same time.
Well, so you didn't go to the hospital right then?
I did not go to the hospital because as I said, it was New Year's Eve, and we had a dinner with our family. And I thought, if I go to the emergency department on New Year's Eve with a broken wrist, you know, I'll be there so far down the line. I'll be there,
Yes.
on, you know, the next holiday.
Exactly.
I went home and I had my own orthopedic surgeon take care of it.
Wow.
And, you know, I mean, I was fortunate. I mean, I could have never walked again.
Exactly. There's all kinds of things that could have happened from an accident like that. I'm in awe myself. I have goosebumps myself just thinking about that. I'm just
What scares me is I see these kids riding motorcycles. I see these little girls riding on the back of their boyfriend's motorcycles in shorts and flip-flops, and I think they have no clue what could happen to them. But,
exactly.
you can tell people, but they have to figure it out for themselves. But I have to say that was the end of a 26-year career of motorcycle riding.
Wow.
I got the bike fixed, and I got on it, and I took it out, and I couldn't wait to get home and get off it. And I tried that for about a month, and I said, I have 2 motorcycles. This just isn't going to work for me anymore.
You know, the joy's gone out of it after something like that when you realize have a traumatic experience like that. And if I was Connie, I would have never gotten on it again either. I'd have been
Well, I mean, she's told me now if I got another motorcycle. But I mean, that to me was my passion. That to me was, you know, having come from upstate New York where you can only do it, you know, 3 months of the year and the rest of the time you're snowbound. Down here you can do it year round. And I mean, I'd just go to the store and I'd come back and I was cleansed mentally.
Wow.
I didn't have to drive up to the Blue Ridge Parkway, you know, I didn't have to go for a 5-hour ride. A half-an-hour ride would, you know, clean out my mind, clean out the cobwebs.
Well, I have just another little story about motorcycles. When I was a teenager, you know, I was really a sheltered person. Our mom and dad didn't let us do anything, straight A student, we had to walk the straight and narrow. We didn't get to do anything. And I guess when I was a junior in high school, I met a boy that was on a motorcycle. I will never forget this as long as I live. And he just fell head over heels for me. I even remember his name, what kind of motorcycle he had to this day. And he pulled up in the driveway. And my dad always went out in the driveway when guys pulled up and I had a date or whatever. And my dad's like, who are you? And he told him, and he said, I'm here to take your daughter. We're going to go for a ride. And my dad said, you're not taking my daughter. My daughter don't get on motorcycles. Yeah. And my dad had motorcycles, okay? And my dad had motorcycle wrecks. But he refused to let either one of us daughters on a motorcycle. So I never got to date the guy because that was the only way that he had to get over there to take us somewhere. Sure. But, you know, I thought that was interesting that you say that now because it's true. These young girls just hop on motorcycles with flip-flops, and if they can get sidewalks, street burns, they can get burns from the pipes, and that's what I remember vividly is getting on the back with my dad and burning my leg. I mean, bad burns off those pipes.
Your dad reminds me of my father. Was a World War II veteran. My father was a very small man, and my father said no. No is a complete sentence. I learned at an early age you never ask the same question twice because the second time no came with a punctuation mark. That's my drift.
Yes, absolutely. Well, I want to switch gears now. I just think that's such a fascinating story, but I want to talk a little bit about your business and your security business and what you do. I like it that you say don't be a victim because I think we need more of that, especially in this day and time.
I had a TV series that ran on the local NBC affiliate, WCNC, for 11 years, and every year we were nominated for an Emmy. And Connie and I went, and I actually won one, and I was so surprised when they called my name, I almost froze. But then I started a second show called Partners Against Crime, and I partnered. I'm the past president of the Crime Stoppers, and I'm past president of the FBI Citizens Academy. So I worked with the police department, and I helped them solve 11 cold murders.
Wow.
I had one mother whose daughter was murdered here working at a plant, and we uncovered the murder and went through the whole. Her mother got on a plane and flew down from Pennsylvania to Charlotte to thank me.
Wow, that's amazing.
Oh, yeah, and she said it was her only daughter.
Well,
I had an incident. I had a mother bring her daughter to take one of my classes last year. Her daughter was going to go over to school in London. And I said, well, you can't carry any weapons over in London. I said, but carry a couple of sharp pencils in your pocket and a compass. And I said, here's the trick. When you're out in public, I said, people are running through the public with knives. I said, take a very thick hardcover book, put it in your backpack, and put your backpack on the front of your body, not on the back. And I said, you may not look cool, you may not look popular. She called me, there was about 8 months ago, her daughter was coming home from an event, and a guy crashed a car on the London Bridge, got out with a machete, ran through the crowd, slashed people, slashed this little girl. The book saved her life.
Oh my word.
It cut through the book bag, but the book kept it from cutting this little girl. That woman sobbed with me on the phone for half an hour.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, I think throughout your years of service and everything that you've done, you've learned a lot of little things that people can do to protect themselves against violence. And isn't that so needed now? I mean, you never know who you're passing on the street that just might knock your head off or cut your head off or whatever.
We hosted 11 people here this past weekend, 11 girls who are graduating from high school. We're all going off to various colleges. So I have a safety and awareness class. And these kids walked in here and they walked out with a completely different mindset. I said, you children are not ignorant. I said, you haven't spent enough birthdays. You're innocent. And I said, you are just absolute fodder for the criminals. Because, you know, that's the whole role. Crime is never random and it's never senseless. If you understand crime, criminals, that's their job. What they're doing is they're looking for easy targets, people who are available, accessible, and vulnerable. The problem is when they attack you, most people aren't prepared, so they end up being victims at the level the criminals engage them. And it's a life-altering or life-ending disease. It's like that little girl that went missing out in Oregon. I'm sure
Yeah.
it's not going to be a good ending.
I mean, how can it be after all of this time?
I know.
So, but they just seem to be lingering on and having hope. And I have nothing against hope, but at some point in time, you've got to realize that something bad happened.
Well, the
I
problem
like what you said about crime never being random. Is that really true? Can you elaborate more on that? Because
well, we think
everywhere, it seems like there's a lot of crime that is random.
we think crime is about being in the wrong place at the wrong time. When a criminal goes out to commit a crime, the criminal knows where they're going to go, how they're going to get there, what they're going to take, what they're going to do with what they take, how they get away. But here's the one thing nobody wants to admit. They know what they're willing to do to you to get what they need, and they don't care that you're somebody's mother, cousin, aunt, daughter, because they have an 80% chance of never getting caught. And so the odds are in their favor. And so they're just looking for people that are what I call emotionally clueless, wandering around, not really aware of their surroundings. And it's not about being afraid. It's about having a sense of awareness of what's going on around you so that somebody can't get the drop on you, so to speak. In other words, if somebody's approaching you, you know it and you're prepared. And then we equip you.
Right now on Facebook, a lot of times, and it's in all cities, you see these posts where in the Walmart parking lots, people are being accosted, and like people in vans will pull up and try to either take your car or take your purse or try to get you in the van or get your kids in the van. Right. And that's what's happening here in the small towns here in Arkansas where I live. There's 2 small towns back to back, and this kind of thing has happened 2 or 3 times in the Walmart parking lot. So sure. People are becoming more aware of it, and they're noticing, and they're posting it on Facebook so the communities will know.
Well, and here's the thing: if somebody chooses you, we have options for self-defense. You don't have to carry a firearm. There are certain tools. We have a law enforcement grade of OC pepper foam. It's a product that has a distance of about 12 feet. If you spray somebody in the face with it, it does 2 things. It takes away their sight and takes away their breathing for about 30 minutes. And I tell my students, if you can't get away from somebody who can't see and breathe, shame on you. It's not a magic rocket. It's a tool, but it's a tool as a last resort. And when people start taking these courses and start carrying these things with them, then they're more cognizant of it. They're more aware. We also have breakaway moves, what to do if somebody grabs your arm, grabs your throat, grabs your hair.
Yeah. Well, I would just like to read a scripture to you that I think is so appropriate for this show. It's Luke 4:10, and it says, "God will order His angels to protect and guard you." So you never know when you're going to entertain in life, and so you need to be. Everyone needs to be nice to people, but I think we need more of that verse out there because I think God really does put angels around us to protect us.
Oh, you're looking at one. I'm a living testimony. As I tell people, when you're in public, when people approach you, focus on their eyes because their eyes are the window to the soul, and focus on their hands because their hands will tell you what they're capable of. Now, 70% of assaults in public occur from behind. So when you're out walking, stop for a minute and just back up against a wall, back up against a tree, and just look at people who are around you.
Wow.
The first we have for crime is people on cell phones. Because when you're on a cell phone, your mind is distracted.
Yes.
And in a self-defense situation, the most lethal weapon you have is your mind.
Yes,
and
sir.
If your mind is already distracted, it makes it easier for the criminal to do their work. And I've spent a lot of time in prison interviewing criminals, and it's fascinating. I mean, how they really explain how they go about doing their business. It's almost scientific.
Wow.
And yet we think of them as being dumb. And I think to myself, if they took those talents and put them to something of value, what a phenomenal world this place would be.
Well, we're going to have to bring it in because we are out of time, but I do want to leave you time to share your information so people can get a hold of you. And I think we may need to do another show just on the tips that you have that can give us protect ourselves.
I would love to. And people can reach me on the website. It's
Okay.
www.danstarks.com. STARKS.com. And my phone number is 704-392-SAFE. And I mean, I've done all sorts of, I had the BBC in London come over and do a story about me. And as I said, I've been nominated a million times for Emmys. And I do it because I know I make a difference in people's lives.
Exactly. It's so needed in this day and time. But I appreciate you so much, Mr. Dan, and you, Miss Connie, for getting on there and sharing with us a little bit. The show, you know, when the show airs, I'm sure you're going to start getting some more information and people wanting you to.
And I welcome all the phone calls. I mean, I welcome the opportunity to talk to people, because I'm not saying I know it all. But if I don't have an answer, by God, I will get you the right answer.
Yes, sir.
Well,
And this show, my show, Shine Your Light Radio Ministry on WYTV7 is also up for an award. I'm a finalist in the Gospel Image Award that's there in Charlotte. That's getting ready to be on. So I'm praying that I'm a finalist, that maybe I'll win something for this show. It's things like this that help. So
being nominated is quite a feat in and of itself.
Yes, sir, it is. But this show does a lot to help people and to help people shine their light. That's what the whole purpose of it is. But I thank you so much. We are out of time, and I'm going to have you back again, okay?
I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Dan. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.